In the previous episode, we asked a difficult question. Who is really in control of a modern enterprise? And we saw that control today is distributed, delayed, fragmented, and increasingly shared with autonomous systems. Now, here is the next uncomfortable question. If no one is fully in control, why do we still need enterprise architecture at all? Isn't architecture just documentation, governance overhead, a relic of centralized IT? Many companies think so. And that's exactly why they keep failing in the same ways. You have probably heard this before. Enterprise architecture is too slow. Agile replaced architecture. Cloud removed the need for EA. Teams should just build and iterate. On the surface, this sounds reasonable. After all, teams move fast. Cloud abstracts infrastructures. Microservices promise independence. AI writes code, so why bother? Because speed without structure doesn't eliminate architecture. It just creates accidental architecture. And accidental architecture is always worse than intentional constraints. Let's be honest. Enterprise architecture earned its bad reputation. Historically, EA often meant static target diagrams, 5 years roadmaps, centralized approval boards, thou shalt not governance, documentation disconnected from reality. That model failed because it assumed stable environments, predictable changes, centralized control, rational actors, and none of those assumptions are true anymore. But here is the key insight. EA didn't fail because architecture is unnecessary. It failed because the mental model was wrong. So let's reset the baseline. Enterprise architecture is not a set of diagrams, a documentation activity, a centralized control function, a technology-only discipline. Enterprise architecture is the practice of managing constraints across people, processes, systems, and incentives so that an organization can change without collapsing. This is critical because modern enterprises are not optimized for correctness. They are optimized for speed, local efficiency, team autonomy, vendor convenience, short-term incentives. Architecture exists to shape the space in which choices are made, not to dictate outcomes. Earlier, we said complexity has never been higher. Let's justify that explicitly. Complexity increases when interactions increase, feedback loops multiply, visibility decreases, consequences accelerate. Modern enterprises have hundreds of SaaS tools, thousands of APIs, globally distributed teams, external vendors making internal decisions, AI systems acting asynchronously, regulations embedded in workflows. And this leads to more interactions, less visibility, and higher consequences. That's not a slogan, that's a system's property. And when systems behave this way, architecture becomes risk management. Here is the shift most people miss. Architecture is no longer about designing solutions. It's about designing constraints. Constraints such as data ownership rules, identity boundaries, decisions rights, security policies, integration patterns, team interfaces, incentive alignment. Good constraints enable speed, reduce cognitive load, prevent catastrophic failure, preserve optionality. Bad constraints slow everything down, create shadow systems, encourage rule breaking, Enterprise architecture is the discipline of choosing which constraints matter. When EA is absent or misunderstood, teams optimize locally and break globally. Data becomes inconsistent and untrusted. Security becomes theater. AI system drift unnoticed. Accountability disappear. When EA is done well, teams move faster within safe boundaries. Failures are contained. Decisions are observable. Change becomes survivable. This is not about perfection. It's about resilience. Now that we have reset what enterprise architecture actually is, we need to change another dangerous assumption: that enterprises behave like machines. In the next episode, we'll explore a different model: the modern enterprises as a distributed organism, one that evolves, adapts, exhibits emergent behavior, and cannot be fully controlled. Once you see this, architecture stops being optional. If this episode helped you see enterprise architecture not as bureaucracy, but as how organizations survive complexity, subscribe. This series is not about tools. It's about how humans, system, and AI coexist inside modern enterprises. I'm Gianluca, this is Possibly Possible. And now that we have reset the baseline, we are ready to rethink everything else.